Hello everyone! I am Alice of KHR Arts and Cloud Orchid Publishing, and today we are going to talk about Witch Child by Celia Rees. So this particular book is a book that came out in 2000, and I read this when I was in high school. This was not assigned reading so much as it was a part of my summer reading list, and I decided to pick it up and read it of my own accord. This is a very interesting book in that it is a historical fiction based on true documents that were found that are supposedly written by a woman who claimed to be a witch's daughter. And this story takes place during the Salem Witch Trials and early colonization in North America. This is a hard read. I want to preface that right off the bat, y'all. The way this story opens is really graphic and it's really terrible, and it was really hard for me to read the opening scene of this book. It is very violent, it is very graphic, and it just grabs you immediately and shows you exactly what kind of story this is going to be. It does not pull any punches with how terrible the Salem Witch Trials were, with the violence that they heaped upon women and children and animals, and just how dark of a time period this was, and you're just on edge the whole time that you read this book. It really does a good job of building that suspense of survival. Are they going to find out my true nature? Are they going to find out who I am, and then they're going to kill me and torture and kill me next? And so this story follows this witch child. Her name is Mary. Right off the bat, her home is destroyed by the Puritans. They just barge in, her and her grandmother, they just live in the woods minding their own business, and these Puritans men just barge in and destroy their home, harm their animals, and cart them off and tell them that they're living sinful lives and they have to be punished and rah-rah and all this horribleness. And poor Mary is just like, what is happening? And her life is just turned upside down in this moment. Seeing that hardens her. And so these Puritans are trying to force her to, okay, you need to be on, the narrow and true path, and, we gotta learn you some goodness, and foist all of their beliefs on her, and she's just kind of going along with it because she doesn't want to die. But at the same time, she is still sticking with her personal beliefs and kind of towing that line of how much of me can I be without getting caught, and in the process finding other people like herself and building these secret relationships and friendships with these people. And the whole premise is this idea of, is there a place we can go? Is there a place we can all escape to be ourselves and not have to deal with all this craziness? Is especially powerful that this is based on a true account. And the reason why I say account and not story is I will read you the note at the beginning of the book, because it very much explains what the historical significance of this story is, and it's very important, especially with understanding the Salem Witch Trials. The following manuscript comes from a remarkable collection of documents termed the Mary Papers. Found hidden inside a newly discovered and extremely rare quilt from the colonial period, the papers seem to take the form of an irregularly kept journal or diary. All dates are guesswork, based on references within the text. The first entries are tentatively dated from March 1659. 1659. I have altered the original as little as possible, but punctuation, paragraphing, and spellings have been standardized for the modern reader. This is based off of the very real journaling, diary, whatever you want to call it, of a very real girl named Mary who lived through the Salem Witch Trials. Understanding that this is a real person, and that while there are parts of this that are obviously fictionalized, and for the sake of it being a cohesive story, there's stuff that's kind of imagined and embellished upon and all of that, the events taking place happened. And knowing that, I feel makes this story even more powerful, and that is a big reason why I powered through such a violent beginning to the story, because y'all, I do not like violent stories. I do not like graphic stories. Normally, I would have absolutely been like, nope, no thank you, after reading the first part of this book. I would have absolutely DNF'd it. But because of that first part where it explains to you this is a real story, that was what really drew me in, that I'm like, this really happened. This is real, y'all. Like, this happened to a real person once upon a time. And so knowing that, I was like, I feel like it's almost like holding honor, like honoring this Mary, and seeing what she went through and holding space for her was really kind of the feeling that I went into with reading this book. This is definitely not for the faint of heart. If you are interested in the Salem Witch Trials, this is definitely the book for you. It is definitely not a happy book. It is a difficult book, but I feel like it's an important book, and it is also a very historically significant book. It can be a little bit difficult to read because even though, as the beginning says, they did try to modernize the text a bit, they still very much talk in the style of the Old English that was used during the colonization period. So for some, it may be a little bit difficult to get into, especially with the dialogue and understanding what exactly are they saying and understanding some of the lingo. It was something that I was able to kind of pick up on rather quickly and be able to kind of integrate it and be like, okay, I've got it. This is the cut of their jive. This is what's going on, that kind of thing. This may be a little more difficult for other readers though, so keep that in mind, that if you do struggle with the story, it's not your fault. It's definitely the language of the time. I can't say that I enjoyed this book because I feel like this is not a book that one exactly enjoys, would be the right word. I felt like this was a book that was important for me to read, that I did a lot of learning, and also I was able to deepen my empathy and as well as explore contrary beliefs. In that, in the schools I went to anyway, the witch trials were kind of skewed toward the idea that these women were really witches and that they were bad. And so seeing it from their perspective and realizing they're just people. They're just people, even if they were actual witches. They're just people living their lives, minding their own business, and these other crazy people came in and just table flipped their lives because, we decided we don't like you. Absolute bananas. So being able to see that, like, contrary perspective, I feel like was really important in me being able to do the thing of kind of like, holding two things can be true at once. That, while these people really believed in their beliefs and they believed that they were doing what they needed to do to keep their community safe and all that, at the same time, we have these people who are like, you are making our community very unsafe and we don't appreciate you endangering us and harming us and doing violence upon us and all of that. It also does a really good job of capturing the vibe of the hysteria that was so prominent during the Salem Witch Trials. That was really what made the Salem Witch Trials get so out of control and ultimately kill so many people, is this idea of the psychology behind hysteria, that these are not necessarily real dangers or real things that are happening. It's when you whip people up into this frenzy of being afraid, they start to see threats everywhere and in everyone, and you start imagining reasons to be afraid of people and things. And so it does a really good job of capturing what that was like and why people made the absolutely bonkers choices that they did during that time period, what exactly was fueling the frenzy. So I highly recommend this book as an important historical piece. Please do note it is violent and it is graphic and it is difficult on multiple fronts. Read with caution, but I do highly recommend. It's also very much, if you are a fan of the history of Salem and the Salem Witch Trials, this is definitely an important book for your collection. So I hope y'all enjoyed this video. If you did, please be sure to give it a like, and if you're new, subscribe. Alright y'all, thank you so much for watching. Take care. Bye bye.